Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call council meeting number 2 to order for November 22, 2022. And I would like to, at this time, recognize that we meet on the traditional territory of the LHTAKO DENE Nation. I don't see any changes to the agenda, so hearing or seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Just a change to the order?
Yeah, we're going to change the order of the agenda that will become obvious here in a moment. So, I'm sorry, a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Vic, Councillor Rudenberg, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next one is the adoption of the minutes of, we have three meetings to adopt. So number one is adopt the inaugural council meeting minutes of November 1, 2022. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rudenberg, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next one is to adopt the regular council meeting of September 27, 2022. This is actually during the last term. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rudenberg, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. And finally, for the adoption of the minutes of the Executive Committee minutes of September 28, 2022. Moved Councillor Rudenberg, seconded Councillor Vic. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So next, before we go to delegations, I'd like Council's indulgence to bring item number, one moment here, item number M1, correspondence from LHTAKO DENE to this point in the agenda, because we do have Bruce McDonald from the LHTAKO DENE Nation in the audience, and rather than have Bruce sit through all of the other business, could we please have that letter introduced? But I need a motion to bring that forward. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rudenberg. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So, Madam Clerk, if you could just briefly summarize the letter. It's way at the back of the agenda.
On November 1st, 2022, we received a letter from LHTAKO DENE Nation. We wish to congratulate Council on the election and look forward to working with you. Over the past 8 years, the City of Quesnel and LHTAKO DENE have developed a strong working relationship as we work collaboratively toward realizing reconciliation through active partnerships on many initiatives. These initiatives are an outcome of our protocol agreement, and include such things as the community forest, LHTAKO Cultural Center, LHTAKO DENE Park, and the potential to create a residential school commemorative space at City Hall. With the change in leadership, they are asking for a resolution of commitment from City Council to continue working together on these initiatives and partnership.
Thank you. I'm going to be looking for a motion here at the end, but I just have some comments that I'd like to make in advance of going to Council for a resolution. I'm looking for a resolution to affirm our continued and strengthened partnership with and goodwill with LHTAKO DENE. I just want to say that during the inaugural meeting, I appointed Councillor Rudenberg as our first holder of the Indigenous Relations portfolio, and I'm happy that she's agreed to do that, and I think that's a giant step forward as far as relationships not only with LHTAKO but with all of our Indigenous neighboring communities. I will say that I've been having some degree of difficulty getting in touch with LHTAKO, but I finally did get through to the office today, and I think that's why Bruce came down, because I actually talked to Jeannie up at the office there. So I'm happy that we finally did make contact. On the Indigenous relationships front, Councillor Rudenberg and I recently attended the opening of the Rapid Housing Initiative out at NASCO, and I didn't know about the opening for the LHTAKO housing initiative, and so we regret that we were unable to be there, but I'm sure that we're going to have a future opportunity for a special tour of that development. In my position as a founding director of New Pathways to Gold, last month I met with many of the chiefs and councillors of pretty well all of the First Nations communities along the Gold Rush Spirit Trails corridor from Hope to Soda Creek. And I also asked for a meeting with the LHTAKO band administrator and Chief LeBrun, and I know that Ron, the band administrator, is away on vacation. So as soon as he's back, we're going to set up a one-on-one. I'm even looking at the possibility of seeing if what we're doing on the reconciliation front might be deserving of a nomination for a reconciliation award. The deadline for submitting applications for that award is January the 20th. And finally, I look forward to, during this term, to hopefully establishing an annual First Nations event where, you know, I'm thinking of a gathering with traditional Indigenous fare, because I'm really looking forward to big salmon and bannock. So if in my position as mayor, if I can make that happen, I will. And also, I'd like to remind that some of us will be attending, and I know it's a public event, the LHTAKO Christmas dinner at I think it's at the Senior Center on December the 14th. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I've got it right there. So at this point, I'd like to encourage council to put a motion on the floor. Councillor Rudenberg. And can you sort of put the motion together?
Sure.
Please, and thank you.
Thank you. As the mayor said, I am the first appointee as a First Nations liaison, and I really look forward to working with all of our First Nations, in particular LHTAKO DENE, because we do have this incredible working relationship with you. So the motion I'd like to put forward is that we affirm that mayor and council remains committed to our relationship and reconciliation initiatives that we have underway, and that they remain a priority for our communities.
Thank you. Seconder? Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm using my microphone. Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the proposal that you're moving forward here, but would it be more prudent to actually mention each of the projects that we have ongoing? I mean, there's more that will be happening as well, but I don't want to lose sight of any of these that have been written in their letter. So I would like it to be very specific if we could.
I have no issues with that. My only concern is I know we have many more initiatives moving forward, and I don't want to just to focus on that. I think that we know that there is a lot going on right now. I think this is just about us reaffirming the fact that we remain committed to our partnership with our First Nation.
I don't disagree with you, Councillor, at all. It's just that these are the ones that we have in the works right now. So I would feel more comfortable if we had that general statement, of course. But if we were to mention the community forest, you know, LHTAKO DENE Park, LHTAKO Cultural Center, and the potential of create a residential school commemorative space at City Hall, if we got right tight on that and then continue to have our relationship grow with different initiatives, I'd be very comfortable with that.
Sorry, I'm going to go to Councillor Vic first.
Mr. Mayor, we could complete this motion that's on the table right now, and we could entertain a second motion to complement this first motion and maybe address Councillor Elliott's concern there.
Good catch. We'll do that. Okay, so on the motion that's on the floor now, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Elliott?
I would leave that to our First Nations liaison if she wants to take it.
Oh, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I think that the next motion would be to recognize the projects that we have in play already. So when we're talking about our protocol agreement, including things like the community forest, the LHTAKO Cultural Center, the LHTAKO DENE Park, and the potential to create a residential school commemorative space at City Hall, that these are important projects that we continue on with.
Thank you. I would second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And just a note that these are obviously grant-funded. They're depending on funding from grants. So, okay, we have a mover. Do I have a seconder? Yes. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Elliott. So I will now call the question. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And if you'd like to stick around for some very, very interesting dialogue on rezoning and official community plan, you're more than welcome to stay. But thanks very much for coming down. Okay, so now I'd like to move to delegations, and I'm sorry I do not have the names of who we have here tonight representing the Quesnel Downtown Association, but I'd like to call you forward and for your presentation, please. And when you do, sorry, I'm going to go to Rhea.
South Quesnel first, please.
South Quesnel. What did I say? I was looking right at South Quesnel. So South Quesnel delegation, please come forward. Hi there. So if you could just please identify yourself, and then I guess you're ready to rock and roll with your presentation. Okay.
Okay. Hello from South Quesnel Business Association. Welcome also to our mayor and councillors, because this is our first time presenting to you. And my name is Charlotte Curda. I represent, as a business member, West Road Resource Consultants, our family business, and as a committee member, past president, and the Connection for City Council. We have a committee for city relations. And with me here, very important, I'll let our current president introduce herself.
Hello. Thank you for having us tonight. My name is Toby Waitman. I'm with Extra Foods. But I'm also the new president of the South Quesnel Business Association. So working with Charlotte and Lisa, and we're here to do our presentation. So, thank you.
And with us tonight and behind me is our executive director, Lisa Boudreau. And a ton of credit to where our association is at goes to our executive director. She guides us along. The request for the intent of the presentation is that the Business Association is requesting a 5-year renewal, and we have a presentation showing where we're at and what our intent is with that renewal. So I'm working through a slideshow, hopefully with no hiccups. One of the important steps that was missing in South Quesnel that we have introduced to all of our business is also the land acknowledgement for LHTAKO DENE. Moving forward, we'd have a lot of growth and change in probably the last 18 months. During COVID, the The board has been replaced entirely. There was a complete restructure. We've had businesses close or staff from businesses leave, so it took a bit of work to get our new board together. We had some challenges, but we've made lots of progress. Is the slideshow working for everyone? Awesome. We have a new logo. We have some new taglines. You'll see it on a website that lets the businesses get representation on the website and information. And what took a lot of work is we have a strategic plan with a budget that guides the association into where that tax levy gets broken down into budget groups. And some of the changes, when I became involved with South Quesnel Business Association, it was still a common practice to give donations. Our board has changed that. We do not give actual money donations. We have other ways of supporting and offering different things to our memberships, but not through donating directly to any association. We have a new executive director after, I think, almost 18 years of a previous executive director. We have a new one now with Lisa hired on in the summer of 2021. There was no strategic plan, so we created that with goals and direction. All new board members. We have earmarked funds that in the past were not spent to have as a capital project in partnership with the City of Quesnel. And we work on creating a positive and fun atmosphere for families to experience while shopping and dining in South Quesnel. Another change, we offered membership into the South Quesnel Business Association to other businesses that are outside of our business area. So anyone that drives up the hill knows that, we have a business association that goes from roughly Aroma Foods to Extra Foods. But past Extra Foods are also businesses. So we have approached them, and some have chosen to become members, and so they buy in for a fee. So our membership has grown. Here's just a summary of some of the accomplishments. We had a live event. So we have our own challenges. South Quesnel Business actually has no public space, other than if you want to say the roads and the sidewalks. It is all business-owned space. So in order to provide an event for the business members, we need a business to step up and offer that space. So Extra Foods came forward, and we had a great summer parking lot party event, and great turnout, and lots of businesses that stepped up. So that's something we hope to continue. We have different Christmas events that will continue, as well as some food drives and some social media campaigns where we have giveaways in the form of South Quesnel dollars or South Quesnel bucks. Some of you might have seen those that can be cashed in at any of the membership businesses and thereby support business in our area. Took a lot of work on the beautification piece because South Quesnel has never had banners. So now we have some banners, and we're looking forward to Christmas lights and some snowflakes. And there's been some bike racks and planters for businesses. So took a bit of work, and it's nice to see. So just a summary on some of the strengths, opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. Lots of feedback from the community that they enjoy the shopping experiences in South Quesnel. We do have the easy access and available parking. The strength of our board is in our volunteers. We have focused on BC Societies Act guiding us with governance, which means we have to have our quorum as well of 5 members or more to spend the money. It's not possible for the executive director to just manage on her own. We have to, so we work a lot on meetings and agendas and attendance, and that helps us be accountable and be transparent. Moving forward, some of our goals, we sure hope to eventually create a multi-use space for members of the community to gather and maybe eat and host events. So working towards a public space is definitely a priority for all of our business members. We continue to have efforts to have relationships with LHTAKO DENE. We host outdoor events. We'd love to have the opportunity to create walking paths and trail networks, similar to what we have downtown or in other places of the city. Continuous improvements for safety and function of our roadways, and beautification. The weaknesses are maybe the opposite to that. Again, focusing on the public spaces. There's been comments from our business members. You know, we certainly have much more limited access to any public garbage, public seating areas. We are in an area where staff turnover can be high because of the chain businesses. So we're keeping our board functioning is an ongoing challenge. And traffic configuration and speed is an issue for some of the businesses with the layout of the South Quesnel frontage roads. So that's ongoing. You might hear from us about those things. Other than that, thank you very much for listening to the presentation. And if you have any questions, feel free. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Any questions from Councillor? Councillor Elliott, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. Thank you very much for the presentation and the smiling faces. It's nice to see the changes that are taking place. To have a strat plan for the first time is really refreshing to see that there's a focus on, you know, the direction that you're going to go in and partnerships and how that's going to be achieved. I think there's a lot of clarity there. You know, I think it's very helpful. The parking lot party was great. I lived right down the road, so that was amazing on how many people showed up. Not a question, just a comment from outside. The beautification, I think, has been great, but just looking at the budget, I would like to see more go into that. I mean, there's just so much potential in that area, but that's just from a personal aspect. We've talked quite a bit in the past about public spacing there. Is there any thoughts on an area that might be suitable, or is that just a conversation for later?
Not at the moment. We don't have any ideas on locations. There's not a lot available that we're aware of or that we've zoned in on particularly. So, no.
That's fine. And unfortunately, Councillor Runge isn't here today. He's in the air, apparently. But he's a great resource. So, I mean, working together on that and maybe the potential of garbages and things like that, because I do believe that we've done that in different BIAs. So, excellent work. Thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Vic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, guys. Great job tonight. I really, very thoughtful change to your budget strategy with the donation thing. It just makes sense that money should be put into the BIA for initiatives that support the BIA directly. So I think that was a great call on your part. Very small budget question. Doing my own payroll in my own business, I think your remittance might be high on that. Maybe you found a little extra money there, or I found you some. Your remittance shouldn't be $7,000 on $28,000 in wages. Just rough calculation, that should be about $3,000, maybe $4,000. So you may want to look at that. You don't have to pay the income tax. That comes out of your employees. That's an employee contribution. So anyway. Great job, and look forward to working with you guys.
First of all, thank you for the budget comment. We're always happy to find money, so that's great. And yes, it's a learning process. One thing I just wanted to mention, as a business association, we'll take that right back to our accounting team, but we've also switched to having our accounting firm involved with the monthlies, not just a year end. And we're just finding that is actually a money saver and a time saver, and we can get onto these things right away. So thanks for the comment.
Thank you, Councillor Vic. Anyone else? Okay. I do have a couple of questions. I noticed in there that you expressed a little bit of concern about your inability to obtain things like planters and garbage cans and so on and so forth through the, I guess, the same channels as the city. Have you actively pursued that? Because, I mean, I'm sure that the city would be happy to provide you with a potential supplier for a potential product.
Thank you. Yep, that is a goal that we continue to talk with city and city staff and try to pick up the pieces and get South Quesnel comparable to other areas of like the downtown and the west side, just to piggyback on good things that have been done and bring them into our area with the understanding that we use some of the funds and cost share.
Thank you. And I'm really happy to see that you've noted that you want to continue your local social media through, and bullet number 4 is the City of Quesnel website event planner. I think that is great. In fact, I've even pointed out to our tourism, our economic and development and tourism department that that's something that I'm really pushing for. I noticed that some recent events were not listed because that's my go-to when I'm looking to find out what I want to do over the weekend particularly. I go to that site and I found some events that I knew about that were not on that site, and so I basically put 2 and 2 together, and I'm sure that they will be. So at the end of the day, I'm really happy to see that you've recognized that, because I think that is a very valuable resource that is at present underutilized. So if there's no further questions, I guess we're looking for a resolution, aren't we, no? Okay. Then I will thank you, and then we'll call up the Downtown Association. So welcome, Gilbert and Matt. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. For those that don't know you, I'm Gilbert Chotel, President of the Quesnel Downtown Association, and joined here with Matt Maglio, who is our Vice President, as well as Patty Morgan is in the gallery. She is our office manager. So yeah, she's been with us since what, April, May, somewhere around there? Yep. Yeah, so thank you for the opportunity for us to come see you as we're looking forward to renewing our bylaw. We'll go through our presentation quickly, and then you may have some questions on where we're at with it. So as you know, our downtown association is the downtown core. We like to think ourselves as being kind of in the heart of Quesnel. We're situated right in the center of the other BIAs. Of course, we have South Quesnel, who just presented, and West Quesnel. And then, of course, north of us, we have the industrial hub. So we're uniquely situated between them all. And that, you know, as well as in the topography of Quesnel between the rivers, so we embrace that, and we embrace the fact that you know, it's a central location, a beautiful location for the tourism in Quesnel, and we like to take pride in what we do downtown. There are over 200 businesses within our membership. We include retail merchants, restaurants, professionals, healthcare providers, automotive service, other service providers, and financial services. So pretty much everything you need, we are able to supply out of downtown. The value of the QDA, we are a joint voice of the innumerable years of experience that we have. We've got a strong board with a lot of long-term business owners there, so we have a lot of knowledge in what goes on. We enjoy the the joint strength of marketing together. We're a direct link to the local economy. And we take ownership of what happens downtown. We are proud of our downtown. We're proud of what happens there. We're proud of our businesses. We're proud of our community. And in that, we support our community as well. And we create more community through the events that we like to hold in downtown to bring the community together. So that brings us to our activities. So our primary marketing activities have been, we hold 4 major marketing initiatives throughout the year. We have an employee appreciation week where we appreciate all the employees that work in the downtown core. We have a spring sale, the spring walk, talk, shop promotion, usually at the end of April, where we kick off the I guess the gift season, the shopping season for Mother's Day, grad, Father's Day, home and garden, that sort of thing, as people gear up for the tourist season and gear up for the spring. We have, of course, our Moonlight Madness event, which was just last Friday for Christmas. And then we also have a comprehensive social media campaign that covers monthly and seasonal promotions where we try to highlight all of the businesses within our membership and bring awareness there. We do try to do events in our downtown. We've got the Gold Dust Mall during Billy Barker Days, so we are large proponents of the Billy Barker Days. We realize there is some concern over the viability of Billy Barker Days, so it should be known that we're there to support that and support our part in that going forward. This summer, we've done the Alive After 5 music events in the downtown. There was Tuesday night entertainment in the downtown. That was through a grant that we had received with the support of the city. We also, of course, did our Halloween treat trail, bringing in probably thousands of trick-or-treaters down into our downtown core. Of course, we have coming up the Santa Extravaganza coming up very quickly, so watch for that on a Saturday. And we also are still hoping to do the shore-to-shore dinner event in partnership with the West Quesnel BIA. Last year, we didn't quite get that off the ground because there were some concerns over improvements to the bridge, and we had a difficult time, getting that all sorted after COVID. So hopefully this spring we can meet with our counterparts and get some joint activities going on. The other aspect that we take seriously is our advocacy for the downtown and advocacy for our members as well as the people that use the downtown. So part of that was working with the city in pursuing funding for the peer clean team to help clean up the paraphernalia that we may see downtown, as well as litter that we've seen downtown, as well as providing positive support for those that are trying to break the cycle of their dependency and improving their lives. We've also done a lot of work on educating our membership in crime prevention. We've been lobbying, of course, for public safety improvements and advocating for our interests with all forms of government, including local government, provincial and federal government, as well as we enjoy working with the RCMP, as well as in Bylaw, to ensure that we have a safe, welcoming, inclusive downtown core. So looking forward, I think in your package that you'll see, we have included our business plan, which we've been working through. We review this. We try to get through it 3 or 4 times a year. In reality, we're probably hitting it about twice a year, but it is a working document that we continue to watch for. We want to improve our relationships with government, with First Nations, partner organizations, social service providers, and the other BIAs. We also want to advocate for real solutions to address the homelessness that we do see, as well as crime and some of the social disorder that we see. We realize that we're partners in that, and we want to advocate for that as well. There's a number of infrastructure improvements that we also feel could be improved in the downtown core. Some of those deal with safety and livability and the beautification. And we want to also, we also need to advocate for sound policies that advocate, a viability of the downtown core in terms of doing business in the downtown core. In terms of our bylaw renewal, last time we came up for renewal was a couple years ago, and due to COVID-19 at that point, we didn't know where things were going to go. So at that point, we advocated for a 2-year term, which we did do. So this time going forward, we want to extend it back to 5 years. We feel that we've come through COVID. We have a fairly general idea on where things are going. We're seeking a modest increase in our levy, and you'll see a budget attached as well. But that kind of brings us up to 5 years is a long time. And as we all know, there's considerable uncertainty in regards to inflation at the moment. So rather than just go with a blanket 2% or $2,000 or $1,000 as an increase per year, we're requesting that our increase each year be tied to the consumer price index. That will take the guesswork out, so that we can, as we go forward, that if inflation continues to climb, we're not caught in an area where we're no longer to properly service our membership. If inflation goes down, well, that's fine, and then we're also covered because, as the prices go. So that's the rationale there. There are some threats that we do see, challenges and threats to the downtown that we are aware of, that we like to continue and address. Of course, there's crime and safety. There's considerably rising costs, as I mentioned, through inflation. But there's also other rising costs that are hitting us in terms of taxation. We've seen a fairly strong increase in taxation, particularly in the downtown core. Some of our property taxes have increased to 20–30% over the year before, which is a concern to us. We also see concerns over labor issues. I think it's, as we talk to our membership, I talk to people on the street, I think everyone has a common concern over, maintaining their workforce as well as attracting new. Of course, there's supply chain interruptions and increasing regulations. And the other, of course, COVID-19 has brought to focus, there's a lot of online competition. So, we're a resourceful bunch, and we step up to the plate in terms to make sure that we're offering a valuable service to our clients, so we adapt quickly. But there's a number of costs that some of those competitors of ours, they don't face. They don't face the daily shoplifters. They don't face those daily things that we see. They don't contribute to our local economies. They don't contribute to our local charities. So some of that, we'd like to see that acknowledged in terms of policies as we go forward. These, of course, aren't just related to the city. I mean, these are federal and provincial items as well. But we do like to just, it's been a challenging time to be in business. I don't think, I speak for myself and probably Matt, I don't think there's anything else that we'd rather do than run our own businesses. But that being said, it's interesting. So going forward, we would like to see a creation of an environment where business and commerce can thrive within our downtown core. So we're talking fair taxation, reduced regulations, real consultation and dialogue with all levels of government. I will acknowledge that the City of Quesnel has been a good partner with us before, so don't get me wrong there. We've enjoyed a good relationship, and we'd like to continue that. We want to encourage innovation and imagination and infrastructure that improves safety and livability within our downtown core. So that kind of brings our presentation to an end. So thank you for your time. Thank you for considering what we've brought forward. And yeah, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Gilbert. Any questions from the council table? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks very much for the presentation. Yeah, we've been working together for a long time. I used to be the liaison shortly after Councillor Rudenberg was, I think. So we've sat at many tables. I will recognize that Patty's involved now too, so I think that's a wonderful addition for you. Yeah, Billy Barker Days is huge for downtown as it is for the whole city, and there certainly are some challenges with volunteers, and I think everyone recognizes that. And, you know, if you don't have the time, we've got to try and find people to step up because it's one of the best events in British Columbia. Live at 5, I'm a little disappointed that it was positioned on a Tuesday because that's obviously our council meeting, so I've never been able to attend. So that's another challenge is your trick-or-treaters. Now we have the parents of the kids coming into the liquor store where I work, and they think that they should be getting treats too, so that's a little tricky. But as I mentioned, it has been a symbiotic relationship, though, between the Downtown Business Association, the city, and the taxpayers as well. You've done some tremendous work, and a lot of people go downtown to shop, and I think the city has tried to step up as much as possible, and there still are challenges, and I understand that working downtown as well. But there have certainly been some positives from the side of the city. For example, the complete upgrade of Reed Street certainly didn't hurt anything. It's helpful for the downtown. The council previous has recognized the challenges of safety and what's taking place, and so, you know, this is the highest level that we've ever had for bylaw officers and for the RCMP. But I do know that there's more work to do. As far as you mentioned homelessness, I mean, we did see a challenge when BC Housing came into town and they just wanted to push forward a location. We understand that there's challenges there for sure, and we've advocated to have those conversations with all the stakeholders, including BC Housing, the BIAs, the residents, businesses, before any kind of proposal is pushed on us, so that hopefully we can, you know, try and meet everyone's needs. Quite an impossible task there. The bylaw levy being tied to the CPI, I think, is a great idea. You know, if inflation's going up, then obviously it should be matched. And I do have a minor question just on the budget, and it's just towards the bylaw levy itself. You've got, and if you're looking at a hard copy, I'm on page 114 and 115. You've got the bylaw levy set at, and it says historical example, at 75,000 for 2009 through 2013, and then you've asked for a modest increase to 70,000. So just, if anybody else is looking at the report, then they might, including myself, wonder for clarity. I may have just missed something. It's probably just a print.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the one in Appendix F, right, of the business plan?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's just what we have taken. Sorry,
It's all good.
yeah.
So Gilbert, what were we at then?
We were at, I believe, at about 69.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a modest
where we were.
increase.
Sorry about that.
It's all good. I just wanted clarity. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's greatly appreciated.
Yeah, okay. And I should probably also mention that, you know, we have been engaging with BC Housing as well. So to bring that as well, we've been wanting them to come meet with us, but there's just been a few conflicts in terms of schedules, so.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Now I'll go to Councillor Rudenberg.
Thank you. I'm sure that some of those partnerships around things like the dinner and the bridge can be looked at, and I look forward to other partnerships with the group up the hill also. Just so you know, that whole piece that happened with BC Housing and the housing that what they potentially wanted to place downtown, has been an example that I've used at the provincial level to tell ministry people how BC Housing is not working, and how, when you look at communities and you've got somebody who's saying, but that's the way we've always done it, and when we've said we need to think outside the box of how we do BC Housing and how we do that kind of supportive housing. So your ears have probably burned several times over the past number of months. Every time I go to a UBCM meeting, even as past president, I still have the ear of some of the ministers, and we've said, this isn't the way to make it work. You want more housing, you definitely don't use Quesnel as an example, because that did not work. So your businesses and community really stepped up to protect your downtown core, which was a really important piece to happen. And I'm glad that council was able to recognize that on so many different levels. But just so you know, the province understands those pieces, and they can't just plunk housing wherever they think it looks good. And that includes whether it's up on top of the hill or over on the west side. They have to have that thoughtful consideration and discussion with not just the community, but also with the business people. So just so you know, your back has been watched for at the provincial level.
Thank you, Councillor Rudenberg. Anyone else? I just have one comment, and that is actually on the going forward slide that is still on the screen there. And it has to do with your comment about reducing regulation. And I'm not asking for specifics now, but do you have specifics in mind that maybe we could discuss?
We didn't really have any real specifics in mind at the moment, but anything that speeds up the process of development. When I've talked to people that are starting up, businesses that are starting up in the downtown core, quite often it's like, really, time is money, right? As they're trying to get through the regulations, anything that can speed up the process and make it, less steps, whether it be signs, whether it be building development, anything that can make the transparency more open so that we can get our ducks in order in a row, so that we can get things going faster, will help.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to see that bullet there, and we're open to discussing any ideas or solutions that you may have, so bring it on. No one else from council, so that concludes the presentation, and so thank you for that, and we'll be dealing with the request for the allocation in the bylaws. Okay, the next item, just a minute. I gotta find the right page here. Is the Financial and Sustainability Audit Committee report from Councillor Vic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a report for our first inaugural FSAC meeting that we held on the 9th. Basically, we covered a few topics. I'm sure everyone's already read the report, but we did talk about the comprehensive fee update, largely unchanged or modest changes. And we're going to look more of a deeper dive when it comes to dog licensing, business licensing, landfills. We're gonna conduct that deep dive in 2023. We moved on to the budget survey, and really where this conversation led was the results from last year were pretty poor in terms of engagement and feedback from citizens on our budget. So we really want to break the mold this year and figure out some better ways to get people's attention to participate with our budget. So we've talked about obviously enhancing some of our social media, some video. We've done a very successful Facebook Live presentation a couple of years ago when we were talking about our public works yard. So we'd like to duplicate some of those successes this year. And we even talked about crazy ideas like prizes, random prizes for people to aspire to if they fill out a survey. So we're willing to try pretty much anything to do better than we did last year. We moved on to the caribou pulp reassessment. Basically, caribou pulp for the years 21 and 22 had an assessment change, and that results in, the long and short of it, it results in a municipal tax refund of about $105,000. And I'm sure Director Bolton will correct me, but I believe any amount over $50,000 is looked after by our tax stabilization reserve. So it's a concern, but it'll be covered with that very important reserve that we've had for quite some time. And then we looked at our meeting schedule, which is posted, and I believe we're looking forward to our next meeting on November 30th. And there is a resolution pertaining to our budget principles policy, which there was a few minor changes, and I would move that recommendation. I'm not sure if this is the right time to do that.
Thank you, Councillor Vic. Do I have a seconder for that resolution? Councillor McKelvey. Any discussion? And thank you for that's a very easy document to sort out the changes with the crossouts in blue and the new in blue. It's really easy to figure that out. So is there any discussion on the resolution? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Vic.
Mayor Paull, sorry, it's not in the report. I also need a resolution approving the FSAC calendar.
You lost me there.
I'll move that recommendation, Mr. Mayor. That's my oversight. There should have been a second resolution to approve the calendar.
Oh,
So I'll move that recommendation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought it was all wrapped into one. So Councillor Elliott, second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so our next item on the agenda is, now this would be a report from Councillor Runge, who is on an airplane right at the moment, so a little bit of a difficult situation for him. Is there anyone that would bring that forward, or should I do that, or should we postpone it?
Anybody can read it if you want it, or there's no recommendations in the report, so it doesn't require.
Okay, so if there are no recommendations, I would just move that everyone's had an opportunity to read it. It's out there in your agenda, so I just look for a resolution to accept the report. Moved by Councillor Rudenberg, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. One moment, please. Trouble is with the network. So the next one is do we need a motion on the fees and services, or we just did that, didn't we? No? One moment.
Item K1.
Pardon me?
Item K1, report by Director Bolton.
Okay. Okay, I'll hand that over to Director Bolton. I'm sorry, I just lost track there for a moment.
So the purpose of this report is to review with Council the staff recommendations for fee updates effective January 1st, 2023, and proceed with the first three readings of the City of Quesnel Comprehensive Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw No. 1929 of 2022. And as Councillor Vic mentioned, we did get a chance to go through this at the Financial Sustainability and Audit Committee. When I wrote this report, I wasn't sure whether we'd have that time, but we did, so they were able to review them. So these fees will be effective January 1st or the first business day after. One of the challenges faced by the city for budget 2023 is inflation, with non-residential construction inflation is at 12.8% for the first quarter of 2022 versus the first quarter of 2021. This has had significant impact on the city's capital projects. So the utility funds, both water and sewer, are self-funded through user fees, frontage, and parcel taxes. The utility funding models built to determine future rate increases for water and sewer were based on 2% inflation, which is obviously not the case anymore. So as Councillor Vick mentioned, there's not a lot of substantial increases. A lot of the areas, there's no changes, but the two big changes are their water utility fees. So again, due to significant inflation and several large projects in the 5-year capital plan for the water fund, it is recommended that the fees be increased 10% in 2023. And the sewer utility fees, again, it's recommended that they be increased by 5% to keep up with inflation. There is some minor changes to the landfill fees, and the airport and cemetery fees both have inflation increases of 2% because they're more related to our labor than to construction inflation. So the recommendation is that council proceed with the first 3 readings of the City of Quesnel Comprehensive Fees and Charges Amendment Bylaw, No. 1929 of 2022, in the bylaw section of the agenda.
Yes, thank you, Director Bolton. Any comments coming out of that before we move on? Councillor Vick.
I'll move the recommendation and move forward, Mr. Mayor. Or does that happen?
No, I don't know. I mean, it automatically comes up under bylaw. Do we read? We don't need a resolution at this point. Thank you, Councillor Vick. Is there anything more on this subject before we move on to the next item? I can see that I don't need to. Okay, the next one is from the city manager, or to the city manager, and it is the Senior Community Development Program Coordinator, and the subject is the BC Active Transportation Network Plan. So that's Ms. Blair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The purpose of this report is to gain Council's approval to submit an application to the BC Active Transportation Network Plan grant. The funding from this grant will build upon the $50,000 grant already approved from Infrastructure Canada to expand and update the City of Quesnel Active Transportation Plan. This $50,000 grant funding will include a project list, potential phasing opportunities, and cost estimates to ensure that Council and the community understand future funding implications associated with the recommendations and to better prepare for future capital projects and grant funding. The expansions will increase connections to new and future developments, provide safe, active transportation corridors, and will update the existing plan to identify gaps in the network and facility or amenity infrastructure. The recommendation is that Quesnel City Council supports the application to the Infrastructure Canada Active Transportation Fund to fund the Active Transportation Plan Update and Expansion Project for $50,000.
Thank you, Ms. Blair. Councillor Elliott, moving the recommendation. Second, Councillor Rudenberg. Any discussion on the recommendation or on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. The next one we go to is to Deputy Corporate Administrator, who is or was the Chief Elections Officer for the elections report. Please.
This report's just for information. It's a legislative requirement under Section 158(1) of the Local Government Act. So it outlines our determination of election results, declaration of official election results, and our ballot count. And the financial implications, I'm looking right now, probably about $2,000 to $3,000 below what was budgeted for the year.
Thank you, Ms. Hartley. No resolution is required there, as that report is submitted for Council's information. The next one that we have on the agenda is from the Director of Development Services, and it's a zoning amendment to allow a retail store at 960 Chew Road. So, Ms. Turner.
Thank you, Mayor. Through to council, the application is requesting a zoning amendment to allow the use of retail store in the C4 zone. And I'm going to go to the site history quickly here just to give you a background as to what this is all about. In 2013, the developer, or sort of the owner of the lot, proposed a 3-phase development that incorporated 7 buildings. Council approved a development variance permit to allow the construction of 2 buildings under the C4 zoning. The developer was to rezone the lot later to complete the remaining phases. As of date, only 1 building has been constructed, and the property owner has not proceeded with the phased plan. The applicant, the business owner, who is currently with us tonight, is currently operating a vape shop at 960 Road. The business initially began operating, but I should note that this was unknown to them, that the zoning wasn't correct, without approved building permit or the business license. When the situation was identified by city staff, we discussed with the property owner, where that the zoning was not correct and he had not completed his C8 zoning yet, but that was considered to be the best option to go forth was to rezone the entire property C8 to regional shopping center. He's opted not to go through. The applicant at this time is requesting support to have this particular lot zone to allow that use, to allow the retail use, which is not allowed currently in the C4 zone, to allow his business to continue on. The zoning for C4 does not allow retail use, which this property would be, or this use would be considered. It's the C4 zone is currently for the combination of large format retail and a mix of vehicle-oriented highway commercial uses. Not provided for in the downtown and West Quesnel district is the phrasing in the policies. The e-vape store is categorized under retail store just by the way the zoning is set up. The existing building at 960, however, I do need to note, does support this type of use as it has smaller units that may not work for large format retail stores. The OCP is also required to be amended, is not required to be amended, excuse me, as it does have a section in there as stated in the policy that encourages diverse types of commercial businesses and enterprises to meet the needs of Quesnel residents, visitors, and industries, and therefore only requiring the zoning amendment. The recommendation is that council provides first and second reading of proposed zoning amendment bylaw number 1930 to allow the use of retail store on Lot 1, District Lot 3140F, Caribou District Plan BCP 6129, except Plan BCP 32503, and that council sets January 10th, 2023. I just noticed the issue there. Thank you. At 6 p.m. in council chambers for public hearing. Hopefully I'll correct that by March sometime.
Thank you. So at this point, we move into actually making the recommendation, which is, no?
No, sorry, it's just an error in the report. That'll be under the bylaw section as well.
Do we need to set the public hearing at this time, though?
Yeah, I'm sorry. What threw me was that the actual bylaw is attached in this particular section of the agenda, and there is no bylaw at the back of the agenda as I'm accustomed to. So I guess we wait until the end of the end of the agenda under bylaws to do that. Am I right?
On first appearance of a bylaw, it appears with the staff report in the staff report section. All subsequent readings the bylaw will appear under bylaws.
So in other words, we're going to deal with that under the bylaw section, even though the bylaw is not in the bylaw section. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Okay. There's no. Are there any questions regarding that application or that matter before we move on? Okay. One moment, please. So the next report is to the city manager and this is the from the Deputy Corporate Administrator, and this is the 2023 regular council meeting schedule, and incorporated into that schedule is also the North Caribou Joint Advisory Committee meeting. So a motion to adopt.
I'm sorry, Mayor, you've missed report number 5. That's the BIA renewal report.
Yeah, I did.
There we go.
Thank you, Hawkeye. So, okay, we have a report here from the Director of Corporate and Financial Services, approval to proceed with the BIA renewal bylaws.
Thank you. So the purpose of this report is to seek approval from council to proceed with preparing the bylaws to renew the business improvement area bylaws for Quesnel Downtown Association and South Quesnel Business Association. So the bylaws for the 2 BIAs expired at the end of 2022. To renew the bylaws, the BIAs must present a strategic plan to council, which they both just did. And once council has approved the strategic plans, they can request staff to proceed with the local area service bylaws for the BIAs on council initiative subject to petition against. So the recommendations are, and there are 2 separate recommendations, the council approves the Quesnel Downtown Association's plan and budget and directs staff to proceed with preparing the bylaw for the extension of the Quesnel Downtown Association Business Improvement Area for the years 2023 to 2027 for the amount of $70,380 in 2023 and going up by inflation each year after that on a council initiative process subject to petition against. Should we do that one first?
Yes, we're going to proceed with a motion on that one. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Vic, discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried.
Okay, and the second recommendation, that council approves the South Quesnel Business Association's strategic plan and directs staff to proceed with preparing the bylaw for the extension of the South Quesnel Business Improvement Area for the years 2023 to 2027 for the amount of $80,000 on a council initiative process subject to petition against.
Thank you. Motion, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Vic, discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. Now we will go to the annual regular meeting schedule, and this is to Deputy Corporate Administrator. The recommendation is that we approve the 2023 annual regular council meeting schedule. Motion, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rudenberg, discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thank you. Next, a report to the City Manager from the Director of Development Services regarding official community plan and zoning amendment to allow permanent work camp at 270 Lear Road.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, through you to council, the purpose of this application is to have the applicant, PRT Growing Services, is requesting an amendment to the OCP and zoning bylaw to rezone 270 Lear Road from M1 to M2, so from light industrial to heavy industrial, and provide a text amendment to the entire site to allow a 40-unit work camp. By way of background, PRT named from the previous name, which was Pacific Regeneration Technologies. I've been asked a few times what PRT stands for, but that is a previous name. PRT is the legal name, is requesting an official community plan and zoning amendment to allow the 40-unit work camp at 270 Lear Road to accommodate foreign and local workers. PRT currently relies on local motels for worker accommodations, limiting labor positions and business capacity. Their justification letter is attached. The work camp would be permanent, pre-manufactured portable units that are occupied, can be year-round with fluctuation during seasons. There's elevation and floor plans attached as well. The applicant is requesting the amendment, also rezones the lot from, portions of a lot from M1 to M2. A subdivision application is in process to consolidate all these lots. The recommendation is that council provides first and second reading of the proposed official community plan bylaw number 1931 and zoning amendment bylaw number 1932 on lot 1, district lot 514, Caribou District Plan PGP 35877, and lot A, district lots 221 and 514, Caribou District Plan EPP 4123, except Plan EPP 63854, Lot A, District Lots 221 and 514, Caribou District Plans 33700, except Plans PGP 35877, PGP 38105, PGP 4471, and PGP 4486, and EPP 4123. It'll be very helpful once all these lots are consolidated. And that council has considered consultation as per section 475 of the Local Government Act. It requires council to consider consultation as is outlined in the report and to send correspondence. Staff is recommending that council send correspondence to LHTAKO, DENE, First Nation, Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure, and the Caribou Regional District. And that council sets the public hearing date of January 10th, 2023 at 6 p.m. in council chambers.
Thank you for that. So a motion, please, to accept the or to move with the recommendation. Councillor Rudenberg, Councillor Vic. Oh, shall we wait? I'm just so chomping at the bit.
Sorry, these will all be approved under the bylaw section of the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to get tuned into that. So, Councillor Rudenberg.
Thank you. What an opportunity to think outside of the box for a company instead of going, it can't make it work. I like how they've decided to think outside of the box here and create an opportunity for their business. Kudos to them.
Thank you. Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, and ditto to Councillor Rudenberg, but also, I mean, it's a great initiative for the company, but it will potentially free up hotel spaces in town too, which is huge. But just for clarity, excuse me, when I'm looking at this, I'm led to believe that there's already 20 there, maybe, because we're looking at the potential of 40. And when you look at the picture, it's naming 21 to 40, and then a blank piece on the other side. Are there already residences there, or it's going to be 40 that are coming in? I'm sorry.
There are no residents there right now. They are hauling in some of the facilities just for storage reasons, but they're not all there yet. There is no occupancy of any residential units there at this time.
Okay, no more discussion on that one. We're going to now move to administration report number 10/23, Snow Contractors Liability Insurance Director Bolton.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to request council to approve the addition of 2 of our snow contractors to the city's liability insurance by the way of a service provider agreement. So this will now be the 3rd year that we've done this. It's difficult for our very small snow contractors to get their own liability insurance, so the MIABC has offered a program where they can be covered under our insurance. And we've done it, like I said, this will be the 3rd year. So the recommendation is that council approves a service provider agreement between City of Quesnel and Kelly Kirkham with the date as set out in the service provider agreement. And the council approves the service provider agreement between City of Quesnel and Mankey Excavating Limited with a date as set out in the service provider agreement.
Thank you. It appears that 2 separate resolutions are required because it doesn't say "and" that. So a resolution to approve the agreement with Kelly Kirkham, please. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Vic, discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, now a resolution for the Mankey Excavation Agreement. Councillor Vic, Councillor Rudenberg. Any discussion? In favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you for that. And now we go back to Director of Development Services, and this is regarding the Telecom Society's rezoning application, or a rezoning, I guess a reapplication for Bylaw 1905.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Council, the purpose of this report is to consider Quesnel Telecom Society's request for a 6-month extension for the zoning amendment bylaw 1905, currently at 3rd reading. In 2021, Council approved 3rd reading of that bylaw 1905 for a new comprehensive development to allow a multi-unit residential development on this site. a development permit must be ready for council consideration prior to providing final reading to the zoning amendment. We have not had that yet, which is why it's been in abeyance. At this time, the proponent is asking, and their correspondence is attached, to seek funding for the development and are stating that they are wanting this to continue on. As per the application procedure bylaw, the proponent must request an extension of the bylaw if it has not been adopted within the 12-month period. The applicant, as you can see by the request, did request it in that time period. And at this time, we're just looking for council's endorsement. It is recommended that council approves providing a 6-month extension to the Quesnel Tilcombe Society for bylaw 1905 as per section 2.9.2 of the Development Application Procedure Bylaw 1531/2002, expiring April 19th, 2023.
Thank you. Now, for clarification, we don't need, we need a resolution approving the request for the 6 months extension, but does that affect, does that require any changes to the bylaw?
No, it does not.
Thank you. So a motion to approve the recommendation, Councillor McKelvey and Councillor Rudenberg. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Council. And the next one is from the Director of Development Services, and that is for development permit review for a 6-story residential building.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to council, this development permit application is to review the overall site design for a 6-story residential building at 442 Kinchin Street and consider the variance of 10 parking spaces. As you know, 442 Kinchin Street is directly abutting City Hall. The applicant is proposing this residential units. 50% of these units will be adaptable. The applicant is requesting that minor variance in parking stalls. They will have still 54 parking stalls in place following that variance. Parking will be split between 2 lots. The 28 stalls will be located on the new site, 442 Kinchin Street, and 26 on the lot 13 Vaughan Street, which is currently a developed parking lot next to City Hall. With respect to the full discussion of the property, I'm not going to go into the full application. It depends on what the mayor would like. We typically allow just do a summary and allow council to ask questions. Is that okay, or would you like me to give more of a summary?
No, certainly that is okay. I mean, everybody has been expected to read the full meal deal, so let's move to the recommendation.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. The recommendation is that council approves DP 2022-49 for the construction of a 6-story residential building as per the attached architectural, site, and landscape plan on Lot 2, Town of Quesnel, Plan 29057, and that council approve varying Table 5.1 of the City of Quesnel zoning bylaw 1880-2019 to reduce parking requirements to 54 stalls for the development on Lot 2, Town of Quesnel, Plan 29057, subject to registering a covenant on Lot 13, Block 33, Town of Quesnel, Plan 17,000, to state that it must remain parking for Lot 2, Town of Quesnel, Plan 29057, to ensure associated parking is not sold or developed without consideration, and that obtaining a landscape bonding in the amount of 125 of the submitted landscape estimate.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Vic. Before we go to, let's have some discussion on that, because I do have some questions. So, Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much for the report. This is something that we've been kind of talking about and hoping about for quite a long time now. So 56 units downtown, I think, is exceptional for our community. There's no doubt about it. But maybe we, through Ms. Turner, we could get a little bit of clarity for the public on 50% that are adaptable, please.
Thank you. The city, and I should have mentioned this, so I'm glad you brought this up, Councillor Elliott. The applicant will most likely, it's not confirmed, but most likely also be applying for the multi-unit development incentives program. So what that requires is that a certain number of units be adaptable, and those are defined in our incentive program specifically. So adaptable units can be slightly different depending on different legislations or programs you're looking at, but we have a very defined adaptable units parameters within our incentive program. They'll have to apply for that, as well as meet design criteria, as well as meet a number of other criteria in that incentive bylaw in order to obtain the incentives. And the incentives, just for council's information, is a 10-year tax exemption as well as DCC waivers if they meet all of those conditions.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Anyone else? I see no other hands going up. I've got a couple of questions. The 6-story, is that at the maximum, or can they go beyond that?
That is our current maximum.
Thank you. And I noticed too at the end of the report, there's sort of a bunch of things about underground wiring and lack of lighting and the buffer on the south side of the development, or if there is a buffer. Is any of this at additional cost to the city, or is this all pretty well borne by the developer?
Thank you. As you're aware, this property as well is a City of Quesnel-owned property, so we're also working through a purchase and contract sale agreement with the owner. This was put up as a request for proposals for a multi-unit housing development. So this is all part of that process. These costs have been negotiated in that purchase and contract sale agreement, and the majority of the costs are the developer's costs. I believe we are working on developing the easement agreements for the electrical and for that pathway agreement that are going to be over top of their properties, but that's the extent.
Thank you. Okay, now I'm looking for a resolution to approve the recommendation. Councillor Elliott, Councillor Vic. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That is a big development that's been sort of sitting in the hopper for a long time, and I look forward to seeing the skyline of downtown Quesnel being changed for the better. Councillor Rudenberg.
Thank you. If you may, let me ask a question here. We had a housing needs assessment done when? When was our last assessment done? Just because I know housing's top of mind for the provincial government right now, and I know this kind of really adds to our, when was our assessment done? Because I think we have to have them done every 5 years, correct?
Thank you, and I'd have to double check my dates, but I'm pretty sure it's 2019. I'll have to check the dates. We did an update to one that was previously done, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, didn't have my microphone on. The next one is the council information package, and I haven't received word from anyone that wanted anything brought forward. M1 was the letter from LHTAKO DENE Nation, and we dealt with that right at the top of the meeting. So now we'll go to bylaws. Bylaw number 1929, comprehensive fees and charges amendment. Bylaw number 1929, first, second, and third. Councillor Vic, Councillor Elliott, discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried.
Mayor Paull, sorry, I made an error on the agenda face page. So for items 2, 3, and 4, council will be approving the readings as well as public hearing dates set for January 10th at 6 p.m.
Thank you. I kind of wondered about that. So that relates to bylaw number 1930, 1931, and 1932. Am I right?
For the public hearing? Yeah. Correct.
Okay, based on that new information, we're going to go with now bylaw number 1930. Motion, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Rudenberg. Discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaw number 1931, official community plan. Councillor Vic, Councillor Rudenberg, discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. Bylaw number 1932, City of Quesnel zoning amendment, bylaw number 1932. Moved. Moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by, it looks like Councillor Rudenberg. Yeah, that looks pretty positive.
Nobody else?
Okay, discussion. In favor? Opposed? Carried. New business, there's no new business. Changes to upcoming meeting schedule, November 29. A special open meeting has been added. As you can well appreciate, with the election process, we have had or encountered a backlog of council work, which is positive. There's a lot going on right now, so we've had to obviously put in another council meeting to deal with some of that overload. We don't have any changes to committee appointments, announcements, and future events. Anyone? Well, I happen to have 3 of them, and that is that, and each of you council members have received this notice about the reverse Advent calendar. And this is a holiday food and toy drive that you have to have your reverse Advent calendar, which consists of 24 different things like body soap and rice and a can of soup. There's something added every day to your box of donated items, and that has to be submitted by December 10th, and there are prizes, so stay tuned for that one. December 10th also is the Quesnel and District Chamber of Commerce Tour of Lights at West Fraser Timber Park, and they have twisted my arm to take my snowmobile down there, and with my Christmas lights and the whole 9 yards, so I hope you come down and visit me. And finally, we all notice on the news that the RCMP are now activating their annual counterattack program, which is just a reminder that we have to be careful out there on the roads, and it is the holiday season, so please don't drink and drive. Anything more for announcements? Okay, then I would ask for gallery questions. Going once, twice, 3 times, and a motion now for adjournment. That looks like you, Councillor McKelvey, and Councillor Vic. Thank you.